All right. Hello, everyone. Today we'll be looking at the New York Police Department arrest data and analyzing some of the data. Um, So our data source we looked at, the New York Police Department has collected data on their various arrests, which is available to the public. The data spans back 10 to 15 years, and we will be looking at variables such as age, sex, race, type of crime, location of crime, and more. Due to the fact that the data set is so large, there are some data concerns we had, and we had to take into account certain things like global events and policy action when drawing conclusions because these data points span so far apart.
For our business question is how can we support organizations such as the NYPD and the New York City government combat and prepare against crime in New York City? And so what we did is using the data, we explored basically all aspects of crime and police involvement in New York City, especially during the years of 2021. We focused on things such as location, time, frequency, and the degree of arrest, and made some visualizations and analysis.
So now we're gonna show you our visualizations. So this shows arrests by month in New York City. So on the bottom x-axis, you can see the months, and then the y-axis shows the counts of arrests. So you can see in April, there were the least amount of arrests with 10,424, and October had the highest amount of arrests with 14,453.
Right here, we see a breakdown of arrests by age group. And the first thing that jumps out is the age group 25 to 44 has the overwhelming majority of arrests in New York City. And the 65 and plus age group has the least, which is somewhat expected. So, really the main focus for the NYPD should be, kind of decreasing this 25 to 44 age group and their arrests and seeing how we can do that. And this is the breakdown of arrests by race. As you can see, the data really broke it down this way. We chose to create a horizontal bar chart just to really show, okay, by race and the demographics, which race had the most arrests throughout our time frame.
All right. Now looking at arrests by the type of crime. So we see here, this is data for 2019. And some of the big main types of arrests that had a lot of them were assault 3, dangerous drugs, and petite larceny, which is theft, with assault 3 ranging at about 32,000 arrests in 2019. And if we compare that to the data in 2021, you see those three groups are still some of the largest in terms of quantity of arrests, but have all decreased to a former percentage of the initial in 2019. For example, assault went from 30-some thousand to 28,000.
So the murder rate regression model shows the number of murders, the highest one being the 960 at 2001 and 462 in 2020. That was because of the coronavirus. So the regression model shows a negative correlation between the years and the number of murders with a regression rate of 0.9%, of 0.9, which shows that as the years pass by, the number of murders are decreasing.
Right. And when looking at arrests by borough for both 2021 and 2019, both Brooklyn and Manhattan have the most number of arrests, and the trends for the other boroughs stays relatively the same. However, Brooklyn and Manhattan are also the boroughs with the highest population, so there's a correlation between the population number and the amount of arrests.
And in terms of location, to further break down where these arrests happen, the data also provided precinct areas. So here is just some data on where all the arrests happen per precinct, which are basically just like towns and areas for police purposes. And that's just a way to like break it down even more. And so the number of arrests per precinct area here is shown by the size of the squares, as well as the bluish colors show that there were more arrests in those areas. So as you can see, the precinct areas of 14, 44, 75 contain the most arrests, and we would suggest for those polices to invest more resources in those areas. And here we just have arrests and level of offense per precinct area. So felony and misdemeanor were extremely common. And again, the same precinct areas show a lot of felony and misdemeanor arrest cases. And here we have some driving related offenses per precinct areas. Unlike the other ones, the common precinct areas for these included precinct areas 123, 108, and 52 to have the most driving related offenses.
So now we're going to talk about some key takeaways. So assault, dangerous drugs, and theft are consistently the crimes with the highest number of arrests. We also noticed that the number of crimes did correlate with the borough population. So Brooklyn and Manhattan have the highest population, and therefore they had the highest crime. We noticed that in 2021, October had the most amount of arrests while April had the least. We looked a little more into this and saw that the crime did increase by 11.2% in October 2021 compared to October 2020.
And some continued key takeaways here. So as mentioned before by Oscar, precincts 14, 44, 75, and 40 had the highest overall arrest count, while precincts 123, 108, 52, 121, and 122 had the most driving related offenses. We relate this to not only those precincts up top being in more densely populated areas, but also less car access in those areas. So there can be less car related crimes if there are less people driving in places like, say, Manhattan. We also, as mentioned before, noticed that 25 to 44 was the age group with the majority of arrests, and that there was a roughly 15% decrease in assault arrests, a 36% decrease in theft, and a 52% decrease in dangerous drug arrests from 2019 to 2021.
Some of the challenges that we faced were really centered around the size of the data set. The data set was so large and a bit messy, so we had to do a lot of data cleansing and cleaning while keeping the data integrity pretty high. And the precinct data was a bit messy because Tableau does not have a set precinct filter like it does for cities, states, and countries. So that was really it. And I think everything really went well other than these few challenges. So thank you for listening.